So, what is a human? Is it a cluster of atoms that make up organs, or is it our beliefs and culture? There is no true answer for that. Biologically, we are not actually that different from animals. We have lungs, hearts, and social structures. But I think we are much worse than animals. Do animals purge and destroy their own environment but refuse to accept they are to blame? Do animals sit atop a throne of valuables while their own species, who they share 99.9% of the genetics with, are dying from easily preventable causes? Do all animals exploit, enslave, and harm their fellow species for the sake of profit and money? We are so much more than our biology, but we must learn from our history and mistakes to make the world a better place. Year 8 has been studying biology, religion, history, and how we can change the world one step at a time.
So what is a human? Being human is not defined by our organs or body parts. In my opinion, it's about being you, having your own identity and personality. What if we were all the same? Wouldn't it just be boring knowing that we all have the same talons and facial features? In my opinion, it would be absolutely boring. Did you know that every minute you shed over 30,000 dead skin cells, or that your body produces 25 million new cells? Does that make us human, or is it just the memories that count?
The human body is made up of a nervous, muscular, cardiovascular gas exchange and the reproductive system. The human body is incredible because it contains over 100,000 miles of blood vessels. The human body is equally impressive, being around 100,000 times per day in order to move the blood with its hemoglobin-rich red blood cells to the body's tissues to absorb oxygen and the blood during gas exchange in the lung. Around 40 trillion cells make an adult, and yet we are still similar to most of the animals in the world. One of many reasons why we are not the same is because of the size of our brains. As well as this, our lungs are huge, with an impressive surface area around the size of a tennis court. In order to absorb oxygen by diffusion or respiration, and to get rid of our blood plasms of toxic carbon dioxide.
The human body is made up of organ systems that, like animals, all work together to ensure that the human body can function. These organs are essential for survival. Organs are made up of tissue, which are made up of cells. For instance, the brain, which takes up 20% of oxygen, and for a baby, 50. This is something unique about humans that sets us apart, our brains, and large proportion to other animals. An example of a system in the human body is the circulatory system. The system consists of your heart, blood, arteries, veins, and capillaries. The circulatory system is very important as it keeps your heart pumping. The circulatory system moves your blood from your right arteries into your left ventricle and then into your lungs. After picking up oxygen, the blood flows back to the heart and the cycle repeats. These organs transport the oxygenated blood around our bodies and oxygenated blood which they receive from the lungs. The lungs are a vital organ in the human body and a part of the respiratory system, the system that helps us to intake the molecules in the air that our body needs and to reject the molecules that we don't. It is made up from the diaphragm, the intercostal muscles, the lungs and the trachea. The amazing thing about our organs is that everything is always connected. Even though our organs are organised in organ systems, they all work together in some way. For example, the digestive or cardiovascular, respiratory and circulatory systems all work together to remove waste from our body. Just like humans, our organs have to communicate too. What if your heart didn't know that your cells needed oxygen or your kidneys didn't know that your body had too much fluid? So are humans animals? I believe humans are animals because biologically we are very similar to lots of animals. Pigs have very similar hearts to humans, sheep have very similar lungs. But I don't think we are just animals like dogs or cats. Humans have developed in amazing ways, for example, our brains. Our brains have really developed, and because of our brains, we have now learned to not only survive like other animals, we thrive. We are comfortable because of things like technology, beds, and clothing. We have developed language, the concept of money, and we understand people. We can know what a person is feeling, be sympathetic, and we understand social cues. The human body is incredible because the systems work alongside each other to keep your body running like a machine. The body also has the ability to replenish itself. So when you get injured, so if you, for example, break a bone, you can mend it, which is truly incredible.
During our trip to the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Gateshead, I learned how to help someone when they were having trouble breathing. When we arrived, we met John, who was struggling to breathe. The first thing we did was check on how he was feeling and reassure him that we were going to help him. We took him inside and we gave him oxygen through a mask to help him breathe. A nebulizer and a machine was given through the mask to help him breathe more easily. An x-ray was taken to see if anything was in his lungs, such as a blockage or an infection. A needle was put in his arm to put liquids and antibiotics to fight any infection. Finally, we took his blood pressure to check his circulatory system. In our expert talk with Dr. Andrew Laws, the clinical lead for organisation at the Queen Elizabeth Hospital, he described how we were more than just a physical body with organs, such as we have feelings. We are also mental organisms and thought and fear. In addition, we are social creatures. It is important for us to socialise with people. So when John arrived at the hospital, not only did we care for his illness, but we took after his mental health well-being by caring for him and asking him if he's okay. And his social well-being by going up to him and talking to him and trying to make a conversation. Being a human is not just about feelings, it's about having a mind, and don't just check on their health, check on their body as well.
For me, organ donation is important because per year, on average, there are about 7,000 people whose lives change because of an organ that doesn't work or function the way it should. Some are more life-threatening than others. 3,400 people don't receive the organ and 430 people die waiting. Something like not having a perfectly functioning organ can affect not only the person, but it can affect everyone around them, such as the worried family, the scared friends, or the person who actually needs a transplant. One of our experts even kept a letter from the day she found out her daughter was going to get a heart transplant from years and years ago. And that shows how truly life-changing it can be. And for all of these people finding out that themselves, their family member or their friend is going to need that transplant, it's a truly wonderful thing. So I think organ donation is important because of that, because it can not only save lives, it can improve the way people live. And for me, that's why organ donations are important.
Belief in the afterlife encourages people to be good and live their life to the fullest, so they can reach the ultimate goal that can be heaven, nirvana, Jannah, or Moksha. A belief in the afterlife also gives people the hope that they know their loved ones are still with them, and they will feel support because they know they're still with them, but in a different shape or form. They will feel comfort as they are still with them. The golden rule to treat others how you would like to be treated yourself links all religions together, because they treat each other like the way they would like to be treated themselves. And follower of a religion and a person who would spread kindness through the religion, believing in this, being one of our life encourages living till you're old enough to die and to be good and not to be going to Jahannam. And there's like hell, which is what Muslim call it, as a fiery pit of torture. But if you be good, you can go to Jannah, which is like a person's paradise. So when the person died, there would be a day where you would be judged by angels or God to see if you would go to Jahannam or Jahannam.
Why are we different? When we are born, we inherit the genes from our parents. For example, our parents may be able to roll their tongue, and that's something we can inherit from them. We have 46 chromosomes in our body, 23 from each biological parent. We as humans are 50-50 split between both of our parents. Our features are controlled by our genes, for example, hair colour and eye colour and blood type. These are some of the things our parents pass on to us. Also, some diseases or illnesses can be passed down genetically. Sometimes characteristics can be different. For example, there are different types of blood type like A, B, AB, and O. An allele is a variety of gene. We have 2 copies of each gene. They can either be a dominant or recessive. Most common interaction between alleles is dominant or recessive relationship. If an allele gene is dominant, it can overrule the recessive allele. You only need to inherit 1 copy of the dominant allele to have the ability to express the trait of your parents. But to have a feature that is controlled by recessive alleles, you need both recessive alleles. For example, tongue rolling is a human characteristic controlled due to the influence of a dominant allele. Only a person who either has 1 or 2 copies of the dominant allele will be able to roll their tongue.
Human beings are forever changing. Everyone starts as one cell, a small singular cell, just a cell. That's all it takes to create human life. But everyone changes. This single cell turns into a ball of cells called the embryo. This then develops into a fetus before we are born. We start our lives as helpless babies, unable to do basic things. We then progress into a toddler, incapable of making decisions for ourselves. Then a child, unable to do the same things as a toddler, however slightly more developed. As we grow older, we get smarter, bigger, and stronger. We grow further into puberty. During puberty, people prepare for adulthood. This includes not only physical changes, but mental changes too, changing how we see the world. Along with growth of the body in preparation for adulthood, our minds develop and our opinions change as we gain more knowledge of the world around us. Everyone has different experiences that shape our opinions, beliefs, and worldviews. This is a huge part of being human and makes us unique. This makes us who we are. We all develop the same, but we are all different.
Natural selection is the creator of species. Natural selection decides which traits of a species shall move on to the next generation, and which shall not. Variation is the physical difference between every single organism, and each difference has its advantages and disadvantages. To learn about this, we played a game called Sticky Dogs. We got to choose which traits our sticky dog had, and we got points every time our sticky dog survived and lost points every time the species got damaged because of a bad trait. If you had no points, your sticky dog went extinct. This depended upon how well the sticky dogs were to the changing environment. For example, brown dogs would survive if there was a predator because the brown dogs would be able to camouflage themselves, and dogs with floppy ears would survive if there were a species that attempted to enter the ears. Dogs with long tails would be able to throw these bugs away, and sticky dogs with long legs would be able to run away from any fires. That is how species survive, and it's how species go extinct. Because nature chooses the traits to kill off, nature selects what traits to survive. That is how nature works. We as humans have survived and evolved for millions of years because of natural selection. For example, we have grown to have opposable thumbs as a trait, which helped us grasp tools and other objects in our past. And we have been selected to show the whites of our eyes, to show if we are trustworthy, and thus helps us read others and see their intentions. We have been selected to be a species of erect bipeds, which in the past helped us to fight quadruped species. And another advantage is our brain size, which helped us by allowing us to find things out and to develop our language and sociality.
Humans have evolved to become a unique species over 7 million years. We are a unique species due to this time. We have become a sociable animal, learned to use tools, and have developed languages. We became erect bipeds, that is to say, we stand on two legs as one of our first evolutions. Being erect bipeds was an advantage back before we had created communities and populated the world, as it gave us a better ability to fight as we were striking down instead of striking up. Striking down delivers more force than striking up, giving us an advantage over other smaller quadrupeds. The only disadvantage with this was that we would have lost some speed and mobility. We have evolved to adapt to situations. In fact, we are the most adaptable of all species, and this is why people can live all over the world. However, we sacrifice some of our physical strength for our brain. This is why we take so long to fully develop. 8 years to develop, approximately. A fawn is born and then can walk, but a fawn cannot do maths, and this is one of the things we sacrifice for our big brains. We are also one of the only species who show the whites of our eyes, which is tied to communication as we use them to try and convey intentions and show emotions. This is key to how we communicate, build relationships, and learn. Natural selection has also led to us being the longest lived primate. As humans, we make families and bond for life, which we can do due to how long we live, and this ability links back around as we evolved to live so long. We evolved to live so long so we can raise more young. Raising our children to an old age and going through puberty also takes and lasts longer due to our massive brains and how long it takes them to develop. Many artists have left a cultural legacy on society. One of my favourite examples is Jean-Michel Basquiat, an American artist who rose to fame in the mid-80s. His art challenged controversial narratives in references to issues to the time, such as police brutality, with the piece Defacement, the death of Michael Stewart, which depicts someone being surrounded by police with bats. His work helped create a space for voices and people who were not heard. His art encouraged many artists to follow in his footsteps and make art that questions society as a whole.
In art, we have studied the work of Frida Kahlo, and an important feature of her art is how she shows a lot of animals and nature in the background of her self-portraits. Kahlo implemented experiences in her own life into her paintings. For example, when she was 18, she was in a crash between a tram and a bus, which resulted in a pole going through her groin. Due to this, Frida was put in a full body cast, but Frida showed resilience in her art career and kept painting. In one painting, which is a self-portrait called The Fawn Necklace and the Hummingbird, Frida Kahlo has painted vines on her chest, which resembles the cash she was in at the time. In this painting, she has also drawn a spider monkey, which is trying to tighten the veins. She drew this to resemble her husband. The blackbird keychain around her neck represents bad luck. Frida Kahlo links to being human as she showed resilience even though times were tough for her, and she persevered even though she suffered many injuries.
To support organ donation, we created an art installation for the Queen Elizabeth Hospital in Gateshead. These pieces of art are line drawings of organs. They are printed onto mirrors because they represent self-reflection and seeing yourself in that position. It also has to do with the interconnectedness of humans, symbolising we are all reflections of each other and we are part of a bigger community. We use the techniques of stippling and hatching that we had learned earlier in art to represent tone in the image we were chosen to draw. Donating an organ is honourable in life and death and makes an impact on not just the person you donate the organ to, but the wider community of their family and friends. Don't you think that's amazing? I made 2 drawings as a contribution to the installation, one of a pelvis and one of a vertebrae. The vertebrae drawing helps to support bone marrow donation. Bone marrow donation is important because it can help save the lives of people who are suffering with diseases such as leukemia, lymphoma, other types of cancers. The art installation could one day save someone's life. The XP community could make someone's life change for the better.
During our expedition, we studied Dharmic and Abrahamic religions, such as Buddhism, Hindu Dharma, Islam, and Christianity. There are many different beliefs about the afterlife. Christians and Islamic people believe that when you die, you will either go to a place of eternal suffering if you have sinned, or you will have not sinned and go to a place of eternal bliss. Christians believe in heaven and hell. Catholics believe in a place called purgatory. This is where Catholics believe people who have sinned go to amend their sins before going to heaven. The belief in the afterlife in Islam is called Akira. Muslims believe in Jannah and Jahannam. Jannah is a Zen garden full of peaceful bliss, and Jahannam is a place of punishment for non-believers and people who are wrongdoers. But they also believe in Al-Araf. Al-Araf is similar to purgatory. It is the in-between of Jannah and Jahannam for those whose good and bad deeds are equal to each other and balanced.
Reverend Lucy told us that she follows Christianity. She had given us a debrief of the faiths and what made her believe the religion. Then she explained the golden rule, which was apparent in all religions, and it was the main thing that links the religions together and tells us why the Christians, Buddhists, and Hindus all live as good a life as possible. The golden rule is to treat others with the care and respect you treat yourself, and in doing this, their morals shine through in their religions. It isn't just about karma and Moscow and hell. It's about caring that brings these religions together. That's what really makes us special. That is what really makes us amazing, and that is what really makes us human.
The transatlantic slave trade was a horrible time where people ignored our shared humanity, which led to huge atrocities across the world. British people would torture enslaved people, dehumanising them. Enslaved people would be put on a ship that would travel through the Middle Passage. The Middle Passage took roughly 80 days. The reason behind the slave trade is because British people thought that West Africans were different to us and didn't learn about them, so they treated them as objects. This led to British people not caring about them. Also, enslaved people were forcibly displaced and placed in American plantations. They still celebrated and maintained their culture by investigating slave culture, which studied the Notting Hill Carnival in London. The Notting Hill Carnival has been celebrated since 1958 and originally mimicked the culture of slave owners. This carnival has been celebrated since 1958 and is still celebrated today with 3 million people a part of it. This thanks to being human because we have learned from our mistakes and we remember how it changed the world.
The continent of Africa is very diverse, with 1,500 different languages and dialects. In the book Africa is Not a Country by Dipo Faline, Faline expresses his frustration that people don't recognise Africa's vast difference between countries. For too long, Africa has been treated as a buzzword for poverty, strife, corruption, civil wars, and large expanses of red soil where nothing but misery grows. During this expedition, we investigated the misconceptions of Africa and we looked into the reasons why some countries are more developed than others. We explored how the country we are born in can impact our quality of life. There are many reasons for uneven development. Physical reasons are being landlocked, climate, and natural cycle of poverty that dates back to the 15th century when Europe nations violently colonized and robbed nations. One country we studied in detail is the Democratic Republic of Congo. The DRC is known for being rich in minerals. Belgium colonized the DRC in 1908, making it the Belgian Congo. While they owned it, they took most of its natural resources and forced the people who lived there into hard labor. They left in 1960, leaving them with no infrastructure or understanding of how to run an economy. We measured development using the HDI, the Human Development Index. This is a combination of three statistics: literacy rate, life expectancy, and GNI. The Democratic Republic of Congo has a HDI of 0.571, meaning it is one of the least developed countries in the world. 60% of people live on less than $2.50 a day. A history of colonization has left it a country which continues to be exploited.
Through our anchor text, The Curious Incident of the Dog in the Nighttime, we explored the idea of relationships and belonging. One relationship was the relationship between Christopher and his dad. His dad was untrustworthy because he went behind his back and lied to him about his mother, saying she was dead. The relationship was complicated because Christopher's dad kept on breaking his trust with Christopher by lying to him. It was clear that Christopher's dad cares about him and loves him through, though, despite his lying. This taught me that to be human, people need each other to survive, but relationships can be confusing, but relationships also give people a place to belong. Another theme in the book was diversity. We learned about Christopher. We found out that he had autism and he liked everything in order. He liked prime numbers and he had a pet rat. Diversity is important because it shows that everybody is different and has different personalities. It's important that people have different personalities because this is what makes us who we are.
This links to our crew read, Show Us Who You Are, because in that we read Cora, who has autism. She often expresses in the book that she feels different of us and gets overwhelmed easily. For example, she hides in the bathroom to do work and to just calm down. And often the girls in class pick on her and take advantage of her, manipulating her into doing their work.
Show Us Who You Are is a story about a neurodivergent girl named Cora who goes to a party and meets a boy with ADHD named Adrian. The story is about how the boy is in a coma and the girl finds out secrets about Pomegranate, a company that is making artificial intelligence replacements of people who have died or want to be remembered. In the book, Dr. Gold is the company owner. She calls it digital immortality. But even if you have paid to see the clone, it is actually different from the original person, as they have removed everything that makes them unique.
At Pomegranate, they create holograms of people so that when they are gone, their loved ones can visit them and chat with them through the gram. Cora soon learns that they weren't interviewing her to make grams about her autism, they were making grams to find out what qualities to take away from autistic people, changing someone's entire personality by getting rid of what makes them unique, like their flaws or imperfections.
These differences are what make us human, mostly disabilities and neurodivergencies like Adrian's ADHD, and the company sees disabilities as something to remove instead of part of their identity. The characters disagree with this and start a riot. This shows how strength in numbers and sometimes diversity is powerful. And in my opinion, it is a terrible thing to take people's diversity without their permission, then sell to family members that visit for profit that most could not afford to take people's diversity without. So they know even if most people can't cash out to see their family again, they will probably save to cash out till they have no money, and then eventually get themselves cloned as payment instead of money like Cora did, wasting months and years of their life only to realize how much of a waste it was.
By looking at our human book read and our crew read, we can see that the two books are very different yet similar at the same time. The two main characters are both represented as having autism, though are quite different and similar, like personality-wise. Christopher in Curious Case is nonchalant, straightforward speaking, and often is interpreted as painfully honest, having no filter. Cora is quite hesitant and anxious and introverted, a lot more than Christopher. We can see between the two books and the two characters that they share a loss of their mother, although we learn that Christopher's mother is not actually dead and is in London. The two books and characters are so similar yet so different at the same time, showing how we as humans vary and have different ways of speaking, acting and interacting with the world we live in.
To Us is a G29 cohort. Being Human is about uniqueness, how humans have changed, the brain and our social structures. Humans have developed uniqueness through our talents, personality, interests and beliefs. Take, for example, how a religion can influence someone to live a life of compassion and kindness. Through life, we change not just because of maturing, but also our own choices. Sometimes these choices won't be the right ones, but humans make mistakes and we can learn from them. We can change and develop in life, like maybe taking on a new religion or leaving a religion perhaps.
Being human is the similarity, but yet the difference between us. It is how we share 99.9% of our DNA, but yet we still look different. This is because of genetics passed down from our parents. There are dominant and recessive genes. The dominant is the more common allele. For example, most people have earlobes that aren't connected, but some people have connected earlobes. This links to being human, as we all look so different but still share a common set of morals.
But being human is also about our social structures and relationships, how we connect, understand each other, and have a sense of understanding and acceptance for ourselves and others. We build our world through memories and experience to decide where we want to go in the future. Humans grow through our community and others around us. What it means to be human, to me, is about accepting ourselves for who we are and learning about and embracing ourselves. These specific parts of being human have helped me understand myself more as an autistic teenager and have helped me find a sense of love and acceptance in my XP community.